How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Episode 2 of Movie Drafts, my new favorite series on YouTube, and it is mine, so I'm a little biased, but I just want to say, starting off, thank you all for the fantastic support in episode 1. It actually popped off, and I was very a little shocked by how much it popped off, and I really appreciate all of that support. Co-host Chris is back, and he is the reigning champion from episode 1. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I have to give a shout out to my man, Brad Pitt, for the win. I feel like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just put me over the edge. I really do. And then I went with Joker. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. And the topic today, pretty exciting. I feel like we're all a pretty big fan of the topic.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And then our two guests, the first one, we got Ewan from Ewan Reviews. Man, thank you for coming. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for inviting me. I'm rocking the amazing film stock merch, which you guys definitely get. It's so good. I'm really excited. Episode 1 was a lot of fun. It's going to be a fun night.
And then returning to the channel after our interview on favorite movie and why, we got Certain Vids, man. Thank you for coming. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited. Nolan's like my favorite director, so it should be a good discussion.
Yeah, and as Certain just said right there, we're doing Nolan movies today. That is the topic. That is the category. It's going to be a little bit different from the first one. So the last week we did 2019 movies. Fairly simple. We drafted 2019 movies. There was no catch, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's how we do it. This time is different. Obviously, there's not enough movies in Nolan's filmography for us to just strictly draft Nolan movies. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. We have subcategories. It's like a standard fantasy football draft where you have positions. You have to fill out the positions. So these are the categories. Each player has to take 2 of Nolan's films. So 2 of the films, straight up, pretty simple. Each person has to take 1 protagonist, 1 lead character from a Nolan movie, 1 antagonist or 1 villain from each Nolan movie, and 1 what I like to call IMAX scene. And basically what an IMAX scene is an action scene, a visual spectacle, something in one of his movies that Nolan would shoot in IMAX. So basically you could take the entirety of Tenet for that. And I'm just joking. But those are the categories. So you have to fill out each of them for however many. So 2 films, 1 protagonist, 1 antagonist, 1 scene. That's 5 positions. I think everyone got that. So we did the draft order ahead of time, like we did the first one. Like I said, hand on the Bible, it happened ahead of time. And Certain has the number 1 overall pick. So what are you going to take? No pressure.
So, yeah, no pressure. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to take the IMAX scene just yet because I feel like I feel like I'm confident there. I'll pick the Nolan film. 1 Nolan film first off. This is still conflicting because I don't know if I should pick my favorite film of all time or my second favorite film of all time, but I'll go with The Prestige, which I believe is his best film. That's the one I'll go with.
There you go. The Prestige is off the board. Chris, I'm going to start with you. What do you think? Do you think that's worthy of the number 1 overall pick?
Number 1 overall? Honestly, for like personal preference, absolutely. Me and Certain are like 2 I remember way back when we would always talk about The Prestige and hype it up before it became like the thing to have The Prestige in like your top 2 or 3. It's my second favorite Nolan movie. So I absolutely think it deserves number 1. Same. I am a little shocked that it did go number 1 on the board though. I mean, there's just some gauntlets and just powerhouses when it comes to Nolan across all categories. So I'm a little shocked, but I respect that pick, Certain. I love The Prestige.
All right, Ewan, sweet. Yeah.
What do you think about that pick, Ewan?
It surprised me. I can say that. I love The Prestige. I think it's like a total 5 out of 5 movie. I think it's in like my top 50, 60 favorite movies ever. It wasn't my top 3 Nolan. Now lands in the top 5. I did not expect that to go number 1 overall, but I also thank you because I'm glad you didn't take some of the ones that I want.
Yeah, I kind of fall in the same. I'm not surprised it went because I know how much he loves Prestige. So I'm not surprised at that one, number 1. But do I think it was worthy of number 1 overall? I'm not sure. I think if I am looking at my draft board, I think you might have been able to get that a little bit later in the draft, but still a great film. And that's how it is for all of these Nolan films. I mean, a lot of them are so good that they could go number 1 overall. So it's really personal preference. So moving on, number 2, Ewan, you've got the number 2 overall pick. What are you going to take?
Well, there's two movies that I really want to pick, and I'm trying to think of what one would do better. But I think I should go with the one sitting behind me, The Dark Knight. I feel like I have to. It's The Dark Knight. Many people consider it the greatest comic book movie of all time. I think it is. I think it deserves it.
Great pick,
Same.
Certain. What do you think of that pick?
I absolutely agree. I don't know if it's the best of all time, but it's definitely my favorite comic book movie of all time. So, yeah, I agree. It's a good choice.
Chris, what do you think of Dark Knight?
I thought Dark Knight was going top number one spot. I thought it was like the solidified lock. Twitter will eat that up. It's safe to say the world will eat that one up. I don't think that it's the best comic book movie of all time, and I might have even somewhat of a hot take with The Dark Knight. I think it warrants all the praise. I think I've had this discussion in the movie community before. It's an amazing movie, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's actually his best movie. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah, I mean, I would be with Chris on that one. I don't know if it's his best movie. It's not my favorite Nolan movie,
Yeah.
but it is definitely a very solid pick. I thought it was going to go in the top two. I had it in the top two on my draft board. I wasn't sure if there were two that I thought were going to go 1-2. And
Yeah.
thankfully, one of them did not, because we will go to my pick. I am going third overall, and I am taking my number 2 favorite film of all time. I'm going Inception. I
Yep.
love this
Yep.
film. I believe it's Nolan's best film, just technically, and everything about it is just perfect in my opinion. I love the characters. Are they fleshed out as much as we might want them to be? I'm not positive on that, but I love Dom, and I love how he is struggling to get back to his kids. That is the whole struggle of this film, is to get back to his kids and do this heist to get back to his kids. I love that. I love all of the concepts of Inception, dream within a dream. Fantastic. And some of the IMAX stuff, which I'm sure we'll be talking about later in the draft, absolutely fantastic. So I'll start with you, Ewan. What do you think about the number 3 pick, Inception?
This one was one of those two, which I was deciding, do I pick The Dark Knight, do I pick Inception? It's my second favorite. When I first saw it, I always loved the movie, but when I saw that, it's the only film I've seen in IMAX. Just blew my mind. It's one of the few perfect movies out there, I think. It's one of my favorite. I mean, a lot of the Nolan movies are one of my favorite movies out there. And yeah, you're lucky you got that one, because there's a ton of people, majority of people on Twitter, that love Inception. That was a very good pick.
Chris, what do you think?
I think that's a gift from God that it fell to you at number 3. I was so certain that was going to be a top 2 pick. The steal of the draft goes to Inception, in my opinion. Very solid start right there, Jack.
And Certain, what do you think about that pick?
Yeah, I was conflicted on that one too, because I picked The Prestige because I think that's his best, but my personal favorite Nolan film and favorite film of all time is Inception. So yeah, you got
Wow.
lucky there, man. You got lucky there.
He rose yesterday, and then today he gifted me Inception at number 3. So thank you, God. There we go. And Chris, you have the wraparound. So you've got the next 2 picks.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? How are you gonna spice this up? What are you taking at number 4?
I've been thinking hard about this. Like, I feel like the rest of Nolan's pool of movies is pretty even across the board. So do I even take a movie? Like, it's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now, but I'll go ahead and take Heath Ledger's The Joker. Yeah,
Damn it.
have to.
I was just thinking that.
Thought that was gonna fall to me. Crap.
I think that it's not even arguable that it's a top 5 greatest performance of all time. Like, I think that it's
Definitely.
easily,
Yeah,
it
for
could,
sure.
and many argue it is the greatest performance of all time, and I fully believe that it's up there. I'd really have to think about it. But yeah, he became this character. Rest in peace to Heath Ledger, an absolute legend. But just the iconic scenes, the quotes, the moments, it's unmatched, and he is easily the best antagonist in probably any Batman movie, any superhero movie. Maybe he's up there, and his character and just the quotes you will never forget after you see this movie. It scarred some people when they saw it, and it lives on forever in the history of cinema.
I hate that because I thought it might fall to me, but you know what? Great pick. Certain, what do you think about this pick?
Yeah, I'm mad too because I forgot we were doing snakes, so I thought I was gonna get it. But yeah, that's a great pick. It's definitely like, if it's not my favorite performance of all time, but it's definitely like number 2, number 3. So yeah, I hate you, Chris.
Oh man, I'm becoming the villain.
You're the villain of
I was about
movie
to quote The
drafts.
Dark Knight and I messed it up. I was about to use that quote. You either live long enough, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Oh, the villain turn is happening. Ewan, what do you think about that
Yes.
pick?
Oh, you're so lucky. I just looked over because I have a Dark Knight trilogy poster. I looked there and then I looked and I saw the Joker and I was like, maybe they'll just forget about it. And he's my favorite villain of all time. Probably it's him and Al Pacino in The Godfather Part 2 are my two favorite film performances of all time. And I was like, maybe I could get lucky, but I guess we were all thinking that way. Chris, that's a good pick. You're very lucky.
That
Thank
is that is a worthy first round pick. On my draft board, I thought, yes, that is definitely going to go with some of these films that we talked about. But the potential was there for it to fall back to me, and I am mad that it did not. But Chris, you've got the number 5 overall pick. What are you going to take?
I'm doing something gutsy here, guys. I'm doing something gutsy.
Oh boy, here we go.
Ooh.
I'm taking
He's
Bruce
going for
Wayne.
the IMAX.
Bruce Wayne.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
no.
that's who I was
Batman.
going to take.
God.
So I did not go. I went against the grain. I did not take a film with either of my first two picks. So that might come back to haunt me. I don't know. But I feel like I went with Nolan's creme de la creme, his top protagonist and his top antagonist. So I'm feeling pretty good about that pick.
When you took Joker, I assumed Bruce Wayne would fall to me, and it didn't. I see you did it right because the three of us have all taken films. So now all we have to do is take one more. And I highly doubt all three of us are going to take one more film in the next 2 rounds. I might, but I don't know. I got to look at my draft board now because it's all screwed up. But I think you did take the best protagonist. We all know that historically Nolan is not the best at writing characters. So he's definitely, in my opinion, the best protagonist. Ewan, what do you think about this pick?
Oh, for sure. Batman or Bruce Wayne is my favorite character of all time. Take any characters, I pick one. I pick Bruce Wayne or Batman. Like, I think it counts for both of them, but
Yeah.
Dark Knight's my second favorite movie of all time. You stole the greatest antagonist and protagonist in my eyes.
And Certain, what do you think?
Same thing I said for Joker. I hate you, Chris, man. Come on. Come on.
I had to.
2 great picks from Chris. He's coming out hot. I can feel the heat radiating off the screen right now. So I'm back at number 3. I was going to try this, but if I'm thinking creatively, I think I can get this in the 5th round. So I'm going to leave it sitting. I'm going to take an IMAX scene. I'm going to take my IMAX scene.
Okay.
We were talking about this a little bit. I see you and crossing his fingers. I think I'm about to break your heart, buddy. I got to take the hallway fight scene from Inception.
Damn.
I
See that
I
was
know.
going.
So we already talked about Inception when I took it number 3. This is when you think of Inception, you think of this moment. This is the moment that you think of. You think of the spinning, Joseph Gordon-Levitt spinning around on the walls, fighting people, just pretty much zero gravity. Filmmaking to the peak. The fact that it's not CG, they did it practically. They made a whole hallway to spin, and they did it practically. That's the thing I love about Nolan, is he does like all of his stuff as practically as possible. And this scene, the score, everything happening, but in particular, the hallway fight scene itself is just a marvel to watch on screen. And it's definitely my IMAX scene that I had to take. It was number 1 on my draft board, and I'm very happy I got it. I'm gonna start with Certain. What do you think about that IMAX scene going?
That's a great pick. Every time that comes on, I just get like giddy with excitement. It's so cool. So yeah, great pick.
Chris, I'm gonna go to you.
That was at the number 1 of my IMAX sequence as well, so I can't argue with that pick at all. I think honestly, it's the smartest pick because you already got your movie, and then like the top antagonist and protagonist were already gone. So to go for that that blow of the IMAX sequence, I think that it was a very good pick. And there's still a lot of great IMAX sequences out there, though. I don't think that category is a clean sweep yet.
No, I definitely don't. I think I think that's why I made that this category, because Nolan has so many. So
Yeah.
there's the option. You and I'm going with you last because I want to see how you feeling. I'm going to check in on you. How you feeling?
Yeah. No, that is totally fair. I mean, we talked about it before, but that one was definitely going number one. There's one of two scenes, and there's part of me that wants to say that's my favorite action scene of all time. Just the mixture of all the levels and that, and the score, the way it kicks in. Just that's something I'll never forget seeing in theaters. That's an amazing pick. Don't like that you stole it, but that's totally fair.
Well, I saw you crossing your fingers. And I was like, I'm about to break his heart. I'm about to do it, but I had to, because when you think Nolan, you think the Joker, and you think that scene. I mean, that it's just absolutely,
that's his best scene for sure.
So Ewan, I broke your heart, but you're up now. What are you going to take with the number 7 pick? Math.
I think I'm going to take the other scene I was thinking of, and that is the opening scene to The Dark Knight.
Oh,
The bank robbery scene has certain... there's a lot of people who will call me, like, I mean, we're all technically Nolan fanboys, but I'm a massive Batman fan, as that's been clear in this video, and that scene is one of, if not the greatest opening scene of all time. I was testing out like our new 4K TV, and I watched that scene, and I was just like, yep, this is it. It really is that great.
Certain you had a very visceral reaction to that. How do you feel about that going right before your next pick?
I think it's only fair that after getting his heart broken, he gets to break someone else's heart. That's all I'm saying. I think it's completely fair that he gets to do that. That was my number one, man. I thought I had it.
Chris, what are you thinking?
That was definitely on my draft board. Great pick, Ewan. I have to say, I think the score definitely enhances that. You know what I'm talking about? It, like, if you have the volume up too loud on your TV, it will blow your speakers out right when the window breaks. So great sequence in it, and one of the best openings to movies in this century.
What bus driver? Yeah.
I'm gonna
Great stuff.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I actually forgot about that scene when I was making my draft board.
Wow.
So I'm very happy. I'm very happy I got the hallway fight scene, because I forgot that. And that one would probably, now that I'm thinking about it, would probably be number 2 on my draft board. So, because there is another Dark Knight scene that I actually have on my draft board, but I'm not going to say it because there's still 2 people that have to pick IMAX scenes. So I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah.
But certain, you had your heart broken, but now you get 2 picks. So what are you going to take with the number 8 pick?
So I'm thinking about going for another IMAX scene right now, because I just don't know which one to pick. I'll go with, see, this one's tough because these two are really close. I'm going to go ducking scene in Interstellar. That's the one I'm going to go with.
That's a good one.
I don't know. That was a tough pick. I don't know if I should have gone for the other one, but that's like the one that gets like my blood rushing whenever that movie comes on. It's so fantastic. Obviously, the score amazing. And I think that movie in general is just so ambitious. But that scene specifically is top tier. So I'll go with that one for my pick.
Yeah, I mean, something Nolan does so well that I also really love is just suspense. He is so good with suspense. And that scene, when I think of suspenseful moments in Nolan films, that is one of the scenes I think of. Chris, what do you think about that scene going number 8 overall?
Solid pick. Again, the Zimmer score just enhances those and makes the moments even more epic than they might even be. It's still a very epic moment. I'm not taking anything away from that, but the Zimmer score is just elite. So yeah, solid pick there. And what a visually stunning movie that is, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Ewan, what are you thinking about that pick?
That's a great pick. And like, Interstellar is not one of my favorite Nolan movies, but it's still like a 4.5 out of 5 movie, and it's on the lower end. So that proves how great its filmography is. That is one of, if not the best scene in the movie for sure.
Yeah, and Interstellar is by far excels in cinematography and just composition of shots. I think in that movie are just elite. They're absolutely fantastic.
I was just thinking that,
Certain got his IMAX scene off the board. That means only Chris has to take an IMAX scene, which means, Chris, you're sitting pretty. No one else is going to take an IMAX scene. You got
exactly, and I got 3 right here that I'm looking at.
Going. So, but Certain has another pick. What are you going to take with number 9?
Okay, this one, I'm thinking hard. I don't know if I should go for the antagonist yet. I'll save that one because I doubt anybody's going to take that one. So I'm going to leave the antagonist alone for now. I'll leave protagonist too. I'll go for the second film, Tenet. That's what I'll go with.
Son of a... It's like all the things I think people aren't going to take, they just take them. But why Tenet? Why Tenet?
So Tenet, I have a weird history with because I didn't love it coming out, but then I just grew more appreciation for it as I watched it, and right now it's like top 4 for me. So out of all the other ones, because I doubt like anybody else would take the other ones, I knew somebody might pick Tenet. That's the reason I picked Tenet for my draft. So yeah, it's visually stunning. I love the concept behind it, and it's like a really adrenaline pumping type of movie. Like it's so cool to watch. It's mesmerizing.
The top 4 of my draft board are gone. I'm struggling now. Okay. Ewan, what do you think about Tenet going number 9 overall?
I'm a little surprised. I love Tenet, by the way. I mean, to say it's my number 8 sounds weird, but it is such a fantastic movie. It was my favorite official movie of last year. I think that's a really good pick. Twitter, depending on what side of it is going to be voting here, that's going to really sway the results, but that was a very good pick.
Chris, what do you think?
Favorite movie of last year definitely was on my mind. I was thinking about snagging it maybe later, but it is what it is. I think that it's just showing that Nolan continues to push the boundaries when it comes to action sequences on the big screen and just spectacle. And I love Tenet. I love it. It grows on me more I think about it. So yeah, really great pick there, certain. I'm mad at you now. You say you hate me, I hate you too. I'm just playing.
We're all heartbreakers
Oh,
today. We're all heartbreakers today. That's what we're doing.
We're gonna hate each other after this.
Yeah, but that movie holds the record for me for most rewatches in a theater. Broke that record last year.
How many?
4 times in the theater. Breaking the record. A film that you wouldn't think. I know Chris knows what it is. It's Captain Marvel. I saw 3 times.
I was just thinking that. I
Really?
That. I thought that one guy who saw it like 100 times. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It broke the record of Captain Marvel. I only saw Endgame twice in theaters, and that's my favorite film of all time. So, Ewan, you are up. What are you gonna take?
Ooh. There's a bunch of good ones I could think of. I kind of want to go with what my heart says, but I don't think that'd be the best. I think I'm going to go for an antagonist, and I'm going to go with Bane from Dark Knight Rises. I'm a massive Dark Knight Rises fan. It's top 3 Nolan for me. I know that's an unpopular opinion to have it above Batman Begins, but Bane is just such a menacing, crazy villain. That backbreaking scene. Ooh.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's a good pick. He was definitely on my draft board as well. Chris, what do you think about that pick?
I love that pick. Tom Hardy's Bane's one of my favorite comic book villains. Just the moment where he's like, "When Gotham is ashes, then you have my permission to die." Like I'm like, okay, I see you, Bane. Yeah. We might talk about an IMAX scene involving him. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was about to quote that scene, but I'm not going to now.
Oh man.
Certain, what do you think about that pick?
I'm actually not the biggest Bane fan, although I do know a lot of people like him, which is why I'm going to say that's a good pick. But personally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of him. Like, he's not one of my favorite villains of all time.
I think that is going to definitely get some Twitter bump because Bane, a lot of people on Twitter I see love Bane.
That's good.
All right.
I will say Tom Hardy, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The villain
absolutely.
itself, maybe not. Yeah.
Got jacked for that thing.
Yeah, he did.
Traps.
All right, here we go. So I am picking now, and I got to pick a film. I have to because so much is already off the board. I know Chris is going to take at least 1, maybe 2 on his wraparound because I don't think he really has a choice at this point. Well, that would be the only thing to do because you can take an IMAX scene in the 5th round because we've already taken it.
Yeah.
So Chris is definitely going to take 2 films, so I have to take a film here, and I'm between 2. Do I go with my heart or do I go with what Twitter's going to like?
Your heart, your heart, your heart.
Nah, I gotta go. I like both films. Let me say that. I'm not gonna pull a Marriage Story with Chris. I like both films.
Okay.
I like both. I'm sorry. We had to mention it at least once.
Yes, no ill will.
Yes.
I like
It
both.
won me. It won me to the poll.
Yeah. I like both films, so I'm okay either way. I gotta go Batman Begins.
Yes. My heart. The pressure was on because there's two that I thought you were going between two. Now go ahead.
People, well, one of the two is probably one that you were thinking. I've seen a lot of Twitter people saying that this is the best origin. I might argue with that, but it's a great origin. I think Raza, what's his name? Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul is fantastic. A lot of people say this Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale Bruce Wayne, is kind of bland and not very likable. I like the Bruce Wayne. I think Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow is actually kind of scary. And I think it's just a really well done comic book movie. It went away from the, in tights, colorful, kind of kiddish, and it went dark and gritty. And that's for that time, that was like the first movie that had done that. And I really respect it for that. And I really like the movie. So yeah, that's my pick. Chris got the wraparound. What are you taking? I didn't wait. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. Wait, yeah. My bad. This is my show. What am I doing? Chris, you were very relieved. So what do you think about that pick?
I think that it's a great pick, and Batman Begins was obviously one of the ones I was thinking about getting. I thought I was going to have to settle for it, and I think it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but there's now 3 that I have to choose between, and because I have the next pick, right? So it's like I can secure. Okay, cool. I can secure those. But yeah, I think that Batman Begins. I go back and forth between The Dark Knight Rises and Batman Begins as far as which one's my second favorite, and I honestly couldn't tell you which one I like more right now. But I like the whole first act of Begins quite a bit when he's training with Liam Neeson. I prefer that to the rest of the movie actually. But yeah. Great pick.
Certain, what do you think about that pick?
I think it might be the best origin. Yeah, superhero origin wise, yes, I think it is probably the best one. Like you were saying, yeah, Cillian Murphy, actually scary. Scarecrow is awesome. Ra's al Ghul, awesome. I think the villains in that movie are actually pretty underrated. Because Joker gets all the attention, but Batman Begins, it lays the groundwork perfectly for the Dark Knight. So as good as Dark Knight is, Batman Begins isn't any short of that.
Yeah, and you said you agree that that's the best comic book origin. So sure. What are your thoughts?
It's, in my opinion, by far the greatest comic book origin story ever. Again, I'm going to keep repeating myself with the Batman movies. One of my favorite movies, top 4 Nolan for me. It's one that it has switched around with The Dark Knight Rises, but they're really they're like this. They're so close, and I love the villains. I love everything about this movie, and even having Kitty Holmes in here, I like her in this. I like her and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think they're both good, and there's also some nice comedy in here. Cillian Murphy's awesome as Scarecrow, Liam Neeson amazing as Ra's al Ghul, and some of the lines nice coat. It's just little things that are very funny in here, and overall just a great movie.
I feel better about that pick. Okay, great. I'm not botching it like I did last draft. I botched my second and third picks, so I'm feeling better. So Chris, you can breathe a little easier now. You're in the driver's seat for the rest of your draft. You should not feel threatened anymore. What are you going to take with your next pick?
Well, before I go into my next pick, I wanted to bring up a quick topic about origin stories. Iron Man and Spider-Man from the Raimi trilogy, I might prefer to Batman Begins. I don't know if that's a hot take.
That's what I was going to say. I would argue. I would argue Iron Man. I would argue Iron Man. That's the one I would argue.
But again, an origin stories topic for another time. But yeah, that was just my 2 cents on
They're all great movies.
Yeah. So I'm going to take my 2 movies now and get those out of the way. First, I'll take Interstellar, which is still on the board, right?
Yep, that was the one I was going between.
I'm shocked that it made it this far. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm shocked that Interstellar made it this far. I know that not everyone loves it, and people will say it's a little clunky for a Nolan movie, but I think that it's a visual masterpiece. And I saw it in theaters, and I was shook by it. And this was in 2014, so I wasn't all into movies, but I remember reading this in-depth article about what I actually just watched, and I was like, oh, it makes sense now. But McConaughey's performance, super slept on in this movie. That might be one of his best ever. And I just get chills from that score, which I listen to in my car quite a bit. All around, I think that it's close to perfect, not perfect, but close, like Ewan was saying earlier, maybe like a 4.5 out of 5 type movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. This was the one with my heart, like this was the one, but I knew that there was divisiveness. Yeah. And I knew that Batman Begins was regarded as probably a better movie for most people. So that's why I took Batman Begins, but a fantastic pick. Ewan, what do you think about that pick?
I think it's a great pick. I see more people on Twitter than I think anywhere else, that and Instagram, who absolutely love Interstellar. So I think that'll really help you. And I mean, I love the movie. The fact that it's one of my least favorite doesn't mean anything really, because it's a great movie, and that is a very good pick. The score, chef's kiss.
So
Absolutely
good.
Fantastic. And Certain, what do you think about that pick?
I used to really love it. It went down a lot for me, but I still enjoy it a lot. Matthew McConaughey, I cannot believe I don't see more discourse on him, because he is really, really good. And yeah, the score is like, that might be my favorite. Maybe not of all time, but it's definitely top 5. Like, it is amazing.
Can I say one more thing before we go on?
Go ahead.
Yep.
The first time I watched the movie, it's one of the only movies that made me cry, which may surprise you, but
Yep.
I've seen it now. I think I saw it at a drive-in, which was like, I liked it less, but still, I mean, like when I first watched it, I was like, this is a masterpiece, and it made me cry. Second time, not as good,
Right.
still very good, but that's a praise. If a movie can make me cry, then it's doing something right.
What point did you cry at?
The ending.
Yeah,
The ending.
It got me. I lost it, because if you really think about like what's happening there,
That's the thing.
you're like, oh, like
yeah.
he got back to her, but now she's gonna die and he's never gonna see her again. I was like, holy crap. I lost it in that movie. The very few movies make me cry too. That one, I bawled. I lost it.
The scene for me is the scene I feel like a lot of people say is when he's watching his kids grow up and McConaughey's just sitting there like crying, like the acting there, it's immaculate.
Yes.
Yeah,
that one also almost got me when he's like, you can see he's like crying through his hand. I just did like the motion. It's talking to Jessica Chastain, or like seeing her, sad.
Yeah, that one hits all of the points. Great pick, Chris. And I mean, I think I know what you're gonna take, but I'm not positive. So what are you gonna take with your second film?
It's between two, and my pick may shock you, but this is sort of off topic, but still related to Nolan. I feel like we could have added a score category, man. It's probably too late now, but like we really could have. But
could have.
But life goes on. Life goes on. I'm stuck between, and I can say this openly now since, I mean, I'm gonna solidify my movie, so I don't have to worry about someone stealing either of them. I'm stuck between, I mean,
Dunkirk and The Dark Knight Rises.
Or Memento.
Maybe.
Memento.
Maybe.
Ooh.
You know what?
It's
kind of like the head versus heart type thing. Like I know that with a certain movie, it's more recent. People like to compare it to 1917, and it's like, oh, is it as good? I prefer to 1917, which might be blasphemous to some, including Jack. I know he's a 1917 fan, but I don't know if this is a stupid pick. I don't know if people talk about this movie. I don't care. It's dumb. I'm gonna look back on this draft. This could screw me, but I'm going with Memento. I'm going with Memento.
I knew it.
I knew it.
I had to, and like I think it's
a
damn good movie. I think that it's one of the first times we see Nolan really play with time, and it's still a very, very trippy movie that I have to read into whenever I watch it. I think that it's not one of my favorites from him, but I like every single Nolan movie. Compared to Dunkirk, I just think there's a lot of divisiveness with Dunkirk. So I think Memento, I don't know. I got to re-rank the Nolan movies, but they're both very good. Memento it is.
You a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like film Twitter loves Memento.
Yeah, definitely.
Like probably.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, because I wasn't honestly. I call myself a Nolan stan, and I wasn't even thinking about Memento. I thought you were going to take Dunkirk, because there has been sort of more of, I don't want to say cult following because it's Nolan, but like more of like a cult following for Dunkirk, and people like really respecting what that movie did. But Memento, what it did for filmmaking is just absolutely crazy. It's just absolutely insane. Certain, what are your thoughts?
I think that's, like I was saying, that's definitely gonna help you out with like film Twitter. People love that movie. I love that movie. If I somehow didn't get The Prestige or Tenet, I would have gone Memento. So that's definitely a good one. That's I'm confident in saying you're going to get a little bit of leeway because of that one. You're going to get some help with that.
A
Ewan, what
late
do you think?
steal in the draft, one might say.
I was about to say, getting that 4th round.
Yeah.
You have drafted a really good draft.
Yeah,
I'm just
you're winning already.
I'm just gonna say that because you took the number 1 of both 2 categories. Absolutely crazy. But Ewan, what do you think about that pick?
I mean, I called it before because I knew that some people weren't thinking about it. When I was looking at the list, I was like, I feel like that one would really help. I agree with certain, but it will really help you. And that was a very good pick. I've seen it once, like 2.5 years ago, and it blew my mind. I was like, this is a masterpiece. But yeah, that'll really help you. You're stacked now.
Yeah,
Chelsea.
absolutely. Fantastic selection. Okay, so I am up now. I'm taking full disclosure. I'm taking my antagonist in the 5th round because I know no one's going to take this antagonist. I know it. I know it like the back of my hand. So I'm going to take my protagonist. It's tough because, like I said a little bit earlier, we know Nolan is not always the best at writing his characters. Bruce Wayne, Batman was by far the best protagonist on the board. This is going to be a really Inception-filled draft for me, and that's so sad, but I love that movie so much. I've got to go with Dom Cobb from Inception. The thing that sticks out for me, and I know some people argue that he's a weak character. I don't believe that. I've seen some discourse about that on Twitter, but the motivation of his character throughout this entire film, learning the backstory of why he does what he does, is heartbreaking. Just getting back to see his kids is heartbreaking. And you can feel that in his character and everything he does. He's also very smooth, very suave. You know, like the meeting between him and Cillian Murphy in, I think, level 2 of the dream.
That's right.
I think level 2 of the dream, when he comes in and is just like, oh yeah, I'm your secure. Like, he did it so smoothly.
Yeah.
Like an art. So he's I think the total package for a lead character in this type of film, and Leo's performance is just fantastic. So I got to take Dom Cobb. My protagonist is now off the board, so I just have to draft my antagonist. Certain, what do you think about that selection?
That was my pick. So you took my pick, but it's a great character. I don't think he's a weak character at all. I think he's like one of the most layered protagonists we've gotten from Nolan. So that's a really nice pick, especially late in the round or late in the draft. I'm surprised you got it, but it's a good pick.
Yeah. Ewan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, you're lucky. When you said Inception filled draft, I was like, damn, because that was definitely my pick after Bruce Wayne. I'm gonna have to pick another one, but that's totally great. Leonardo DiCaprio's performance there. This is again by no means an underrated movie, but people really need to talk about his performance more. It's so emotional, and I think that this is by far one of Nolan's best protagonists. And I'm not even one to say that he writes weak characters. I just know that it's really up there.
Definitely upper tier. Chris, what do you think?
If I had not got Bruce Wayne, it would be Cobb. I think he's a fantastic character. I mean, he wants to get home and see his kids, and then the backstory with Maul, everything about it's great. And the scene, especially where Maul, I mean, I'm going to spoil Inception here. I feel like most of you have seen the movie.
Spoiler alert for Inception.
Spoiler alert for Inception.
Yeah. Jesus.
That's exactly what it is. that is the best. That's just so good. That was a great impression, dude. That's got me laughing. I'm cracking up. Just the way I edited a clip of that into a video once, but that was just funny.
Yeah.
I mean, you can feel the emotion in that moment. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic.
And the way he like hangs out the window almost like it's that scene, when I first watched the movie, that was the one scene out of like the non-action scenes that really stood out to me.
It showed the most character development, I think, in my opinion.
For sure.
Ewan, you are up. You have to take another film and a protagonist. What are you going to take?
Okay. Which one do I go with?
In my opinion, there is an obvious category you go for, but I'm not going to give that up to you.
Yeah, I kind of. It's tough. It's tough. But I think I'm going to go, this may piss someone up, I think I'm going to have to go with Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar.
Oh, okay.
That
It may
was
surprise some people, but for protagonist, I'm like that one should help me a little bit.
that was my number 3 on my board. So I had Bruce Wayne, Dom Cobb, and then I had McConaughey. But Chris, what do you think about that?
I share the same order as you, Jack. I had him at number 3, right behind Cobb. I think that, again, just seeing his journey, having to deal with watching his family grow up before his eyes on the videotape, it's just, he's got to be one of the better characters Nolan's written, because a lot of them are very lackluster or forgettable, but at least we remember his name, and it's McConaughey, so he's pretty high up on that list. A great pick.
Absolutely. And Certain, what do you think?
I'm actually a little bit relieved because I thought you were gonna take the one I wanted, but that's a fair pick. I'm not sure how much it'll help you. I think it might, but like I said, I'm not as big on her. So I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even think of Matthew McConaughey when I was picking protagonist.
I
So
just looked
he's
at
not
it.
even on my board. He's not even on my board, but that's a fair pick.
Great pick. Great pick. Certain, you have the wraparound now, so you've got 2 more picks, and this is going to round out your draft as well. So make sure you round out your draft all the way. What are you taking with your next pick?
So I think so. I have both, so I don't have to worry about anything. So I have protagonist and antagonist left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I'm a little. I'll go ahead and pick antagonist first. Since Joker has been off the board since the beginning, I'll go with Ra's al Ghul for my antagonist, like right behind Joker. He's my number 2. When I first saw that movie, I didn't know anything about Batman or anything like that. So that plot twist with like it was actually Liam Neeson all along, that like blew my mind at the time. So that was obviously Nolan. He loves plot twists. So that was really well executed. Liam Neeson, fantastic performance, I would say, and all around great villain. He's my second favorite villain. If Joker wasn't taken, damn you, Chris, I would have picked Ra's al Ghul.
That's a great pick. Chris, what do you think about that?
He was like number 3 on my list as well, so that's a really, really solid pick. Liam Neeson is Liam Neeson, for crying out loud. He has a particular set of skills, so yeah, that's a great pick.
That's fantastic. And you, what do you think?
I know.
Very, very, very great villain. When I was thinking, I was like, do I go with that? But I was like, I don't hear too much talk about it. I think he deserves so much more. It's a great pick. I think he's a great villain. So that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that pick too. I think that was a really good one. I actually didn't have that on my board, and I'm kind of kicking myself. But at the same time, I am so confident in my antagonist pick that I'm okay. But Certain, you got to take a protagonist now. What are you taking?
I'm torn. I don't know which one. I have 2. I don't know which one's gonna help. I don't know which one's gonna see. I have no idea. So I'm kind of just shooting in the dark right here. But I'll go with this is tougher than I thought it would be. I'll go with the protagonist from Tenet.
Oh,
Wow.
I like that.
I knew that one was coming. That's a good pick.
I like that
That's
pick.
the one I'll go with.
I like that pick a lot. Did anyone else have that pick on their board?
Yeah, well, I didn't actually make a board, but that one was. I was deciding between that one and Coop from Interstellar.
I was gonna say, because I had that one. That was one of the first ones I put on my board because I love that character. I love that character so much. But Ewan, what do you think about that pick?
It's a great pick. I mean, when you said protagonist, I was just like, he just adds the before it, and it's perfect. I love John David Washington. I think he's one of the best up and coming actors. Yeah, you could still call him that. And he just does so much in this movie. The stunts, everything. That was an amazing pick.
That's a great pick. Chris, what do you think?
As much as I like Tenet and I like John David Washington in the movie, I think it could hurt when it comes to the Twitter poll a little bit, if I'm being honest, just because I know people like to attack Tenet for its lack of characterization. And most people say Elizabeth Debicki is the heart and soul, which I would agree. I still like the protagonist, but I think there might have been a better option. I don't know if that's a hot take.
Maybe. I just find that so many people on Twitter love John David Washington, so I feel like that may help him for that reason. And he deserves all of that.
I see a lot of Tenet praise. So I was thinking from that end, I was torn between him and Shelby from Memento. So I was like, I don't know. I think Tenet might get the edge there. So that's what I went with.
I love the pick. I mean, I love the pick. But you are up. You got to take one more film. A little slim, but what are you going to take?
Yeah. I was debating going this earlier, and it may not be the greatest. Like I could probably go with another one, but it's also part of me. It's in my top 3. I'm gonna go with The Dark Knight Rises. That one's still on it, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank God. I was like, oh, yes, that's in my top 3. I love that movie so much. For a long time, it was my favorite Batman movie when I was younger. Now, obviously, The Dark Knight has passed it, but I honestly think it's a great movie, and hopefully, I'll get that little part of Twitter that really loves this movie to just kind of find the poll.
I think it's a good pick, especially for as low as you got it. And thank God I'm not the only one that has a draft filled with most of the movie. You got a lot of Batman, so thank God I'm not the only one with Inception. But I like that pick. Certain, what do you think?
I do hope you get that the part of Twitter that likes that movie, because I know a lot of people don't. So I don't know if that's gonna hurt your chances, but I enjoy that movie. Even though I don't think it's particularly as good as either Batman Begins or Dark Knight, I still have a good time with it. So it's a solid pick.
Chris, what do you think?
I think The Dark Knight Rises is wildly overhated. I think that it's actually a lot of fun, and I think that it is a great conclusion to that trilogy. I remember seeing it in theaters with my brother opening day and just being like, that was everything I wanted. At the time, I haven't really rewatched it a ton. Like I've seen it 3 or 4 times, so I haven't watched it in the past 2 years, I'd say. So maybe that would change my thoughts, but I think Bane's a badass villain, and it's a really great finality to Bruce Wayne's character, and I think the final shot is chilling. I love the final interaction of that movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I think the ending of that movie is the perfect conclusion to that trilogy. I think Nolan is able to wrap it up so nicely in the last, 10, 15 minutes. And yeah, I think it's a great movie. I really enjoy it. So before I give my final pick, I just want to reiterate one rule because it may come into effect here. There is a veto. All 3 people that are not the person picking have to agree to veto a pick. If all 3 people agree, that pick is vetoed and they have to pick something else. The reason why I'm saying that is because I'm taking my antagonist. My antagonist is time from Inception. And let me explain. Okay. What are they up against the most of anything in this film? They're not up against a villain. They're not up against an army of people, which they are. But what is their biggest opponent? It is time itself. The end of the movie is them racing through time, trying to finish each stage in the certain amount of time so that they can hit the jump and get out of the dream. If not, they go into limbo, which is what everyone does not want to do. They do not want to go into limbo. This is the most intriguing villain for me in this section. I mean, I think the other villains that you guys took are fantastic as well, but this is a very intriguing villain because it's not a person, it's a concept. And I think the way Nolan pulls it off, I mean, there's literally one of the parts of the score is called time. And it's probably the best part of that score, I would argue. That is what
it's probably the most popular one.
That is their biggest antagonist in this movie, is the concept of time. And for that, I am taking that as my antagonist. Unless you veto it, I am taking that as my antagonist. I think it is one of the best, most complex antagonists of any of Nolan's films. That is my argument. You may discuss.
Chris, what do you think?
It is like structurally, like if you're looking at it, time is technically the antagonist of the movie, which I can't argue with that. I can't. Honestly, you know what? I'll let it slide, and I'll let it. I mean, like I think so, because honestly, I don't know if Twitter is gonna love that. So that's my view of it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a clever look at the antagonist.
Yeah, when you first said it, I was like, "Oh, I hope that we all veto it." But then I think that it's only fair to give you it because you gave such a complex explanation, and I do agree with you. Like when you think of it, that's really the true antagonist of the movie. Would it maybe if it was earlier, I wouldn't be so keen on it. But now I'm just like, that's fair. You know, we've taken a lot of great ones, and that is still a very good one. But I'll let it slide too.
Certain, what do you think?
I'm gonna let it slide as well. One, because you got like your entire like top four stolen at the beginning, so I think it's fair we let you have this one. And I think it's like it's valid reasoning. Like I don't know who else would be the antagonist technically, so I don't know. Yeah, time. It's a good choice. Good complex choice. I didn't think of it that way.
And it
feel like
adds to your
time-
Inception team.
Yeah, and I feel like time is applicable to Interstellar as well.
Yeah, I was
That's
thinking
what
that
I
I
was
was like
thinking from the
Memento
beginning.
you could do stuff
Yeah.
with, and like there's a lot. He does love
Yes,
time.
yes, but the difference I think between Inception and those two is there are actual villains in those movies.
Yeah, no, I
So
agree
you-
with you. Yeah,
So like, you know, in Inception, they're fighting a bunch of faceless villains who are like the army inside of Cillian
Right.
Murphy's head. They're not fighting an actual enemy. You know, even I'm forget Ken Watanabe's character. He seems like the villain at the beginning, but then he ends up becoming an ally and they're trying to save his life at the end. So there really is no true villain in that movie except for time itself. They are fighting against time. Once Kent Watanabe gets shot, they are fighting against time for the rest of the movie. And they were already from the beginning because of the whole concept of they need to do it before the flight to LA is done. But thank you for letting me have that. It was number 2 on my draft board, and I'll tell you why, because that's the first thing that came to my head. It was Joker, and then it was time. And I was like, and I took it in my 5th round pick because I knew no one else was going to think of it. That's why I didn't take it like number. That's why I didn't take it in like my 2nd round or anything, because I knew no one was going to think of it. And I had a backup just in case it got vetoed, but I'm happy it didn't. So thank you. Chris, round out the draft as a whole and round out your draft as well.
So I've been thinking about this for a while since I've
Oh yeah,
had some
you've
time.
got IMAX.
I've had some
Let's
time
see.
to think.
ooh,
Oh yeah,
I have so I have
I have an idea.
okay.
I can't.
So
I can't even think. There's a
like
bunch.
500 from Tenet, so it's really hard to like pick one. But then there's also another scene. You know what? Oh, God, this is. I mean, either way, it's so frustrating. Like I'll ask a question to Jack. By sequence, like how long? Like could that be? How prolonged? Is it?
I think it's up to interpretation. I
Okay.
think if you tell us the start point and the end point,
Okay.
we can decide.
We decide.
Yeah, I think it's up to interpretation, because I think I might know what scene you're thinking of, and I
I
think
know you do.
we
yeah,
I think we would have to have a clear start and end point. I think
Okay.
it is what, and we'll decide.
Then I'm gonna stray away from that, and I'll just say, because I think this scene, I remember seeing it in the theaters and just being blown away by it. The opening of The Dark Knight Rises, the plane scene. I think that's a phenomenal IMAX scene.
Oh,
I think that it's. I mean, the way they were able to shoot that, like the aerial shots, and then the way the plane flips, and then they like it. I think that it's insane. It's insanely cool, and one of the standout moments from that movie.
That was the Bane quote I was going to quote earlier.
Yeah.
Crashing this plane.
Yeah, but I will say before I was gonna say like a lot of things from Tenet. The Tenet highway sequence I feel like is 30 minutes of the movie, so it's an unfair advantage no matter how you want to break it down.
We'll do honorable mentions after this and
Yeah.
talk about some of the honorable mentions from each of these categories. But I love this. I love the scene in The Dark Knight. I think this really sets up Bane as a character, showing that he is everywhere. He can get anywhere and he can get everywhere. So I really like that. And then just the IMAX-ness of it is absolutely fantastic. And again, it's the practicality. They literally dropped that plane. They did it. That happened.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I love about Nolan. But Certain, what do you think about that pick as the last pick of the draft?
that's a pretty solid pick. It wasn't on my radar, but now that I'm thinking about it, that is a pretty dope sequence. So it probably will help you. I want to say it's a good choice.
Yeah, and Ewan, what do you think?
I think that's a great scene. I'm going to be completely honest. As much as I love that movie, I forgot that that's the opening. When you said it, I was like, what's the opening? Oh, yeah. And that's one of the best scenes in the movie, as Jack said. The IMAX-ness of it really shows, and it sets up Bane very well. And yeah, it's got to be one of the best openings of the past decade, I think. Even though I forgot it, still really good.
Absolutely fantastic. So that rounds out our drafts. I will go through them all for you guys to get them. So we had Certain going number 1 overall. He took The Prestige, the docking scene from Interstellar, Tenet, Ra's al Ghul, and the protagonist. Ewan went number 2 overall. He took The Dark Knight, the bank robbery scene in The Dark Knight, Bane, Cooper from Interstellar and The Dark Knight Rises. I went third overall, took Inception, the hallway fight from Inception, Batman Begins, Dom Cobb, and the antagonist of time. Chris went fourth overall. He took The Joker, Bruce Wayne, Interstellar, Memento, and the opening plane scene from The Dark Knight Rises. I think these are fantastic drafts overall. I think we hit a lot of the key points from these categories, but honorable mentions. Does anyone have honorable mentions? I know I have a few for IMAX scene, and I have one for antagonist. What other ones do we have? I mean, we have to mention Dunkirk for film. I think, that was one that I was actually kind of surprised didn't get drafted. And I think the reason why is because Memento ended up getting drafted and it was completely off my radar. So that one was a little bit surprising that it didn't get drafted. What do you guys think about Dunkirk?
I think that it's a great war movie, actually one of my favorites, and I almost picked it. I was just like, I think Memento is a little edgier when it comes to like, especially the voters, but I like them both quite a bit. But I prefer Dunkirk's 1917. I know that's the popular comparison, but I don't know. It captures the event so well, the way Nolan directs it, how you see the three different perspectives, and it's about the event itself and not really the characters. And I feel like that's where people will end up critiquing it more, is that they don't care about the characters when you're never really, it's about the event. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Thoughts from you guys about Dunkirk?
It's a fantastic movie. I totally agree. I was deciding between that and The Dark Knight Rises, but I was thinking The Dark Knight Rises, in my opinion, is a better movie by quite a bit. And I love Dunkirk. Another bottom end Nolan, but still 4.5 out of 5. So I think that proves how good his filmography is, and that one's very smart. There's tons of scenes from there that you could take on honorable mentions, lots with Tom Hardy especially. But yeah, I could see how that one missed it, but kind of glad in a way.
Yeah, and Certain, what do you think?
I really like Dunkirk. I remember maybe not enjoying the first half as much, but I think the second half really made up for it. I thought it was like a fantastic ending. I think I might prefer. I'm still unsure about the 1917 debate, but
1917
upon rewatch, I think I might prefer Dunkirk. So yeah, I'm also surprised that didn't get drafted. I thought because of Twitter, I thought that might get drafted, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most surprising one for me. But what other honorable mentions, guys? You guys can call them out. Do you guys have any other honorable mentions that you're thinking of?
I definitely have one for antagonist, Sator from Tenet, Kenneth Branagh. I thought that he might go late. I honestly thought that's what you were holding on to, Jack. I did not expect the time drop. I thought it might be that guy from Tenet.
He was on my board too.
And also, for IMAX sequence, the dog fight. I should have taken that. I didn't have anything from Dunkirk. The dog fighting in Dunkirk. Oh, should have taken it.
Yeah, there's a lot in for more.
Yeah.
You go. You can talk.
I was thinking because I was conflicted because I remember not knowing what to choose for IMAX. I was conflicted between the docking scene and the plane crash in Tenet, because that was like epic, like from all proportions. That was amazing. So I was like, I don't know which one to pick. I was like, maybe Interstellar is like visually it's amazing, but then again, Tenet is also visually amazing. One's more practical, one's more CGI. So I picked the docking scene just because like a little bit more intense, but the plane scene is also fantastic. There's also I also had on my board the black hole scene in Interstellar. So those were the ones I was confused about, but I think docking scene might be my favorite, if not like second favorite in that movie. So that's what I went with. But yeah, I had a lot of honorable mentions for IMAX.
The Tenet plane scene was number 2 on my board. The crashing the 747 into the building was number 2 on my board. I mean, Tenet. I'll just run through like the Tenet ones. The highway fight is just brilliant. The opening opera siege, I think, gets you into the movie right away and gets your 100%. Heart pumping and your blood pumping. Yes. And the finale fight, I think, is great as well. Tenet is a big spectacle film.
Incredible.
Yeah. And it's just done so well on that part.
Yeah, I thought Chris was going to go with the hallway scene in Tenet, like through the inversion.
Oh yeah.
Goes one way. That's the other one. I said hallway scene, and that makes me think of Inception. But I was like, you might go for that one. That one would probably help him. But good you didn't, but you do have The Dark Knight Rises, so that's pretty.
We'll
good
see.
too.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Any other?
I feel like
honorable
my IMAX
mentions?
scene might be a weak link because you guys have some stellar IMAX sequences, but I think Nolan doesn't have a bad IMAX scene.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a pretty
True.
like once you said it, I was on the side with Ewan where I didn't remember it right away, but once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that it's iconic. I mean, it's absolutely iconic. That scene's absolutely amazing. The last honorable mention I'll give for antagonist is Walter Finch, Robin Williams' character in Insomnia. I know we didn't mention Insomnia on here at all, but he is a scary villain in the fact that he believes that, he's ahead of the game. And he is for a large part of that film. It's just a scary good performance by Robin Williams, and it just absolutely fantastic. So that was, I had to give a little bit of love to Insomnia because I actually do enjoy Insomnia for what it is. And yeah, that's probably the last honorable mention I have.
I agree with that one too. Here's some Nolan unpopular opinion. I have that number 7, which means it goes above. People are gonna hate me. Tenet, Interstellar, and Dunkirk. I'm a massive Insomnia fan. I honestly think it's like nearly a masterpiece. Like it's a 5 out of 5 movie in my eyes. And
Yeah.
Robin Williams' performance there is so underrated. Same with Al Pacino, but the villain really it's really great.
Yeah, I mean, just so like you said, just so underrated. But does anyone have any other honorable mentions they want to talk about? I mean, there's so much in Nolan that we could talk
Honestly, what do we think of Harvey Dent?
Go ahead, Chris.
What would he be defined as? Like, I
about.
feel like he's
That's what I was gonna say.
He'd be a
That's what I
villain.
was gonna say.
Yeah, he'd be antagonist because of. I mean, he nearly kills.
I
the
don't.
kids.
I never really liked his character. I mean, he seemed fake. He seemed fake. And he seemed like he was out for the best of Gotham at times, but then once he becomes Two-Face, there's no going back. I mean, he's gonna kill a kid. I mean, what are we doing here? You're gonna kill a kid.
The commissioner's kid of all people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like I was kind of surprised that we didn't get any for Hugh Jackman in The Prestige. I thought that one might go for protagonist for certain, but that one was I would have been a little bit shocked. But it's I mean, that's a fantastic movie. There's so many. Nolan just I like all of his movies. I love most of them anyway.
I didn't think of Borden or Angier from The Prestige because I don't know. Would you consider Borden the protagonist, or because I'm confused about that?
I would consider Bale the protagonist. When I watch it, I'm rooting for Bale all
Right.
the time.
Yeah,
I would, but then
'Cause
because of the twist, I was like, he might be. That one's tough though.
See,
It's a tough one.
because of the twist, I'm like, is he technically the protagonist because he
Yeah.
was always behind? I don't know, but
It's a tough
yeah,
one.
I didn't think of either of them. I did have Sater on my list. Chris mentioned him. I was Insomnia was on my draft board. It was there. I didn't give it any love, but I love Insomnia. I think I don't know, perfect. It's pretty close to perfect. Yeah, I'm sad we didn't get to it, but I don't know how Twitter would have reacted to that.
Twitter wouldn't
But,
really
it was on my board.
that much, so I get it.
Right. But Robin Williams, I didn't think of him either. I didn't think of so many things. I'm kind of mad now because I would have maybe picked him. But yeah, it's so much good stuff here. Like I just can't think of it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to do this one number 2. I think 2019 was one of the most stacked years for movies. I think Nolan is one of the most
100%.
stacked directors when it comes to each of these categories. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. And guys, that's pretty much it for the draft. Thank you, Ewan. Thank you, Certain, for coming on. Chris, of course, thank you for being the co-host and coming back. Go over to Twitter. When this video is up, there is a Twitter poll out. Whoever wins the poll wins the draft. Chris is 1-0 right now. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. He doesn't go to 2-0. But I will say his draft is really good. But everyone go vote on that poll. It'll be up for probably, I think I had it up for 3 days last time. It'll be up for 3 days this time. It'll end on Friday. Go over there. There's a graphic and vote on the poll. That is the biggest thing I can say. Whoever you think had the best draft, go vote for them. That is how they win.
Meaning vote for me. That's what that means.
Yeah. So thank you guys for coming on.
Thank
It
you.
was a lot of fun. We'll have you guys back on in the future for future drafts. Chris, you obviously are going to be on every week as the co-host. But guys, that is
Indeed.
pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of the support on movie drafts so far. And we will see you next week in the next draft.